Premier Colin Barnett ends 2011 knowing the new year will usher in the countdown to the next state election. With voters hurting from increased power bills and rising living costs, and with a minority hold on power, the Premier knows he'll have a tough 12 months ahead of him. I spoke with him earlier about the electoral pain of rising utility costs and his cabinet reshuffle. Premier, welcome to 7:30 WA.
Pleasure to be here, Andrew.
Cost of living pressures are still a big thorn in the side of people here in Western Australia. Are you worried that at the next election they're really going to punish you at the ballot box for the decisions you've made?
The cost of living is an issue, can I say, right across Australia. People have seen increases in prices, utilities an obvious area, but also in other areas, fresh food prices have gone up.
But it's the electricity prices that are biting hard here, isn't it? And that is a direct decision of your government.
It is a direct decision of this government after a period where electricity prices were frozen for many, many years. And while the increases were steep, and I acknowledge that, electricity prices in Western Australia, they are the second lowest after Queensland. So they're below the national average, and what we've seen is a jolt in electricity prices that has hurt family budgets. I understand that.
But come March 2013, do you think people are going to be blaming Eric Ripper for not putting up prices or blaming you for putting them up?
Probably a little bit of both, but I think most people in Western Australia understand that you actually have to pay for services like electricity, and the alternative of seeing debt just accumulate is not acceptable.
Now you're holding prices down, I think, to an increase of 5% next year. Are you just buying votes?
No, we took the decision, perhaps a hard decision, to increase prices very substantially in the first 2 years. That was to get on top of a problem of $1 billion of debt in Western Power and the other utilities. Now we've taken that hard decision, taken the big bite, if you like. Now we will have further increases, but they'll be more modest as we gradually bring these utilities back into a strong financial position.
So if you win office in March 2013, there won't be then very substantial increases as catch-ups?
No, not of the order of what we've seen over the previous 2 years.
Now, you announced the cabinet reshuffle this week. Rob Johnson had your confidence after the Perth Hills fire, after the Kelty report. He also had your confidence. Now he's lost the portfolio. What's changed?
He still has my confidence, and Rob continues as Police Minister, a very senior portfolio. Road safety, something he has a personal commitment to, and also he's leader of the government in the Parliament. So he's got a major role.
But in that portfolio of emergency services, what was it that changed your mind on that? Because you were a very strong defender of him in the wake of that fire and in the wake of that report that was damning of FISA.
Yes, and it pointed to some failings, not only within FISA, but also in the relationship between FISA and Department of Environment and Conservation, which obviously has a major role in fire matters. Look, we've had some serious issues, the 2J fires, the Hills fires, now the Margaret River fire, the Carnarvon floods, and for whatever reason, emergency services become more prominent as an issue. I thought the area needed a fresh minister with a fresh insight into what's going on. So that was part of the decision. The other part of the decision was that I want Rob Johnson to concentrate on his main responsibility, which is law and order.
Why have you kept Bill Marmion in his role?
Well, Bill Marmion's only been the Environment Minister for 12 months. I think he is doing a good job. He will get very heavily involved in that agency, and I think he and Troy Buswell will work together on that whole emergency services, particularly fire, suppression and fire management issues. So that's the combination, that's the team I want to work. And look, Bill, he was not at fault in the Margaret River fire, and as a minister he accepts ministerial responsibility, but in no personal sense did he make an error.
How are you judging his performance? Because in the public arena I would have to characterise his performance as at best mediocre and on some occasions absolutely appalling. I went to a media conference last week where he was just simply mauled, and by the end of it he seemed confused about the point he was trying to make and completely unable to make it.
Well, I think that's a bit harsh, Andrew, if I can say so, but while an important role of the minister is to communicate the policy and actions being taken, that's not the sole role, and I think Bill does a good job, and I think he will prove himself very much in this portfolio, particularly working together with Troy Buswell.
But when you look at your capable ministers, the ones that you'd regard as highly capable, they are able to be competent in the policy area, they make a contribution on the floor of the House and in politics, but they make that public case very clearly, don't they? And that's very important because they shift and shape the debate. Now, Mr Marmion, having watched watched him right from Magellan a year ago to just this debate over the prescribed burns just last week. He still seems to be struggling to find his feet.
Well, I don't share your view in that regard. I think Bill will prove himself to be a very good minister, and he's got two very important portfolios, environment and water. He's an engineer by background, so perhaps Bill, as an engineer, always likes to explain the fine detail, and maybe he should not do that. But I think Bill's an excellent minister, and he will prove himself.
Do you think environment might be the wrong portfolio for somebody who's finding their feet? Because it's complex, as you know, the debate tends to be polarised. It really does need somebody who can cut through that debate and make the government's case clearly, doesn't it?
Well, I think Bill does that, and if you look at the environment portfolio, while it's been about bushfires over the last couple of weeks, this government is doing some remarkable things in the environment.
Troy Buswell on the ascendancy again. I guess if we were describing Troy as a footballer, he'd be mercurial, wouldn't he? Best on ground one week, on the bench, or suspended the week after.
And he'd probably get suspended once or twice.
Have you had that conversation with him about the importance of him being disciplined and reliable in his new role?
Look, Troy's a character, and some would say he's a larrikin, and Australians, that's part of our culture, I suppose. But people should never underestimate Troy Buswell's intellect, his capacity to solve problems, and his work rate. He is a very, very hard-working minister.
I don't think anyone's ever questioned his intellectual capability. It's always just been his impulse control. Yeah. Have you had that conversation with him? Have you told him what you expect, and does he understand where the bright lines and the boundaries are this time around?
Yes, Troy does understand that.
Can I just ask you about your own political future? Have you turned your mind to what you might do at or after the next election?
Well, I don't take anything for granted, and can I remind viewers that the Liberal Party has 24 seats, the Labor Party has 26. We start behind in the race between the two major parties. I would hope that we could, as a Liberal Party, win more seats than Labor and form government with the National Party. But we've got a tough election in 12 months' time, so I don't presume anything. If the Liberal and National Party succeed, and if I remain as their choice of leader, then I will continue on as Premier, and I would make some sort of decision in the lead up to the following election.
Well, Premier, I know you're getting a couple of weeks off at Christmas. Enjoy your break, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Thanks very much, Andrew, and Merry Christmas and best wishes for the new year to yourself and to all the ABC viewers.